Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be a midweek Celtic News roundup. We're going to be having a look at the news regarding Kasper Schmeichel's recovery time from his shoulder injury, speculation regarding Greg Taylor leaving the club and Jeffrey Schlupp coming to the club, results of the two polls from 8 days ago regarding Brendan Rodgers and Kyogo that we launched on the channel, and it's been a good number of people voting and giving their opinions on those two matters, plus some news of a player that Celtic appear to be actively pursuing as a player to sign this summer, and also a strong suggestion that Brendan Rodgers' interest in Matthias Kvistgaarden of Bromby may be cooling off as a result of their primary targets up front and the success of Dyson Maeda playing through the middle. First of all, the news regarding Kasper Schmeichel is fairly good. Brendan Rodgers says that the expectation is that Schmeichel will be out for 5 to 6 weeks with his shoulder, and would appear that it's not going to require surgery at this time. And if Schmeichel was out for 5 to 6 weeks, that would mean he would be coming back likely in the last week of the league season for a couple of games, and then assuming that we beat St Johnstone in a couple of weekends' time, he then would be ready, fit and able to play in the cup final at the end of May. The worry always with shoulder injuries is they do have the habit of reoccurring, as the shoulder is a very complex joint with bones and muscles and ligaments and tendons. And so my fear is if they do manage it with rehabilitation, physio, etc., that there's a chance it will reoccur during one of the games in May. However, we'll trust the physios, the medical staff, the specialists, and cross our fingers that Schmeichel is back for the end of the season prior to the cup final. But I think in Viljamis Sinisalo we have a very good deputy for him. I was very impressed with his performance against Hearts at the weekend. Greg Taylor appears to be on his way out of the club. It appears that he has turned down a couple of very good offers from Celtic. He is keen to be the number one left back at a club, and clearly with Kieran Tierney coming back in the summer, Taylor would be back to number two left back at the club. The top of the queue is Dinamo Zagreb in Croatia. They are apparently offering the best contract, the longest contract, the most money, and Taylor is keen to start afresh in Zagreb in a new league, and is likely to have top-level European football there as well. At the same time, it does look like Brendan Rodgers and Celtic are more and more looking to bring Jeffrey Schlupp into the club as a permanent transfer. That would be as a free agent, as his contract is up at the end of May. I, for one, would be very happy to see Jeffrey Schlupp coming into the team. Been very impressive. He's a better defender than Greg Taylor, gets forward just as well as Greg Taylor, and I like his experience. And of course, he has played top-level football in England and in Europe, and also international football too. So hopefully Celtic do give Jeffrey Schlupp a couple of years or 3 years of a contract and get him signed up to be Kieran Tierney's deputy next couple of seasons. A couple of players who do definitely look like they're on their way out of the club at the end of this season are two of our players out on loan. Luis Palma has had an increasingly good set of performances for Olympiacos. Olympiacos at the moment look favourites for the double in Greece. They're into the Greek Cup final and are well ahead in the league. And Luis Palma, now that he has got himself settled again in Greece, has been performing better and better and better. And Olympiacos are very keen to sign him. And there is a clause thought to be around about 3.3 million, 3.4 million, which would pretty much mean that Celtic are getting back what they paid for him a couple of years ago. At the same time, Gustav Lagerbielke has had a series of brilliant performances for 20 Enschede in Holland. He has been voted into the Dutch Team of the Week on multiple occasions over this season, and he has highly impressed 20 Enschede, and they are very, very keen to sign him permanently. However, because of Lagerbielke's great performances in Holland and in European matches, and getting himself back into the full Swedish international squad just a couple of weeks ago, it does look like there are a lot of teams keen to sign Lagerbielke permanently in the summer. Although strangely, it would appear that Brendan Rodgers is dead set against bringing Lagerbielke back to the club, despite the fact Lagerbielke has been one of the players of the year in Dutch football this season. However, it's Brendan Rodgers' decision, and in the long run, it may well be better for both Luis Palma and Gustav Lagerbielke to get away from the club and to play for teams and clubs that want them, as it appears Brendan Rodgers doesn't want either Luis Palma or Gustav Lagerbielke in his squad or in his team. Moving on to a player that Celtic are apparently very keen to sign in the summer. It's a player that Celtic were looking at last summer. Unfortunately, he then got injured. It's a player called Michel-Ange Balikwisha, plays for Royal Antwerp in Belgium. He is a left winger and right winger who also can play as attacking midfielder and as a second striker, and would appear to fit very well into Celtic's system. I did a video about him in July last year, including some video highlights, and have popped in those highlights for you to have a look at now. After that, we'll come back, we'll have a wee chat regarding his stats for this season and career stats. hopefully enjoyed that wee reminder of Michel-Ange Balikwisha of Royal Antwerp. The full video was on July the 17th. If you want to watch the full video about Balikwisha, I did back then. However, just a wee update on his stats, etc. This season, 24-25, he has played 8 games for Royal Antwerp with 1 assist and no goals so far. As I said earlier on, he played a couple of games and then was out from August pretty much continuously until March of 2025. He did try playing a couple of games back in December time of 2024, but broke down again injured. And since he came back in March, has had 4 games so far for Royal Antwerp, and Celtic have been closely studying and scouting him since he came back from injury. Over the course of his whole career for Royal Antwerp, 131 games, 25 goals, 15 assists, and all his professional career, 172 games, 34 goals, 19 assists. He has 10 Belgium under-21 caps with 1 goal for them. His contract with Royal Antwerp runs out in June 2026, and so with 1 year to go on his contract this summer, it would be very expected that Antwerp would be looking to sell him, assuming that Balikwisha doesn't wish to stay playing for Royal Antwerp. And I suspect at 23 going on 24, Balikwisha is looking to move up a level. And coming to Celtic obviously would move him into playing regular Champions League football and a regular chance at winning cups and leagues and trophies and furthering his international career with Belgium. He is a 2-footed player, has reasonable rather than great pace, more of a James Forrest, Luis Palma style wide player, good strong player, good finisher, good accurate crosser from open play and from dead balls, capable with direct free kicks and corners, which may well be a big asset for Celtic. However, also does have a good ability tracking back and up and down his wing, is equally good right wing and left wing, primarily right-footed, although is good crossing left-footed, and does have the chasing back of ability that Kuhn and Maeda show so well, and so do think he would fit in very nicely at Celtic. And of course does double up as attacking midfield and second striker, and so would give Celtic quite a lot of cover across the full front 3 positions. Transfer fee thought to be 5 to 6 million, which I think is entirely reasonable for a talented young Belgian player, but I think he does look a very promising player who would improve Celtic's squad no end and give us good depth across the front 3 positions. At the same time, Brendan Rodgers is said to be cooling his interest in Matthias Kvistgaarden of Brøndby. Celtic appear to have, on several occasions, tried to sign Kvistgaarden, but Brøndby have always held out for more money. In the summer of 2025, it's thought that Kvistgaarden has a clause in his contract where an £8 million offer would be accepted. And that is thought to be Celtic's valuation of Kvistgaarden. It would appear that Kvistgaarden is dropping down the wish list order. Wouldn't be too surprised, however, if the interest in Kvistgaarden reopens, because Kvistgaarden, as well as being primarily a main striker, also does double up on the left wing and can play down the right wing as well, and so may well be yet another good option to cover the front 3 positions. So we'll see whether that starts up again once Brøndby's season and Celtic's season is all over. Finally, we update on the results of the poll we put up on the channel 8 days ago. By a resounding 76 yes to 24 no, the vote was that Celtic should look to extend Brendan Rodgers' contract by a further 3 years this summer. His contract runs out in June 2026, and there is some speculation that Rodgers will see out that third year of his contract, but is not keen to commit to Celtic any longer than that. And I think Rodgers does have ambitions to manage again in the English Premier League. And I think it's a wee bit similar to how Rodgers was in his first spell at Celtic. Lots and lots of success in his first season and second season, and then starting to get itchy feet to get back to the English Premier League in his third season. And of course, he did abandon Celtic mid-season to go and manage at Leicester before coming back to us a couple of summers ago. So we'll see how that develops over the summer. It does look like Celtic are very keen to sign Rodgers for three further years. It does look like they're happy to give him a big transfer war chest of cash to buy new players and extend players' contracts. And it does appear that the board and Dermot Desmond, etc., are actively trying to encourage Rodgers to commit to Celtic for a further 3 years. So we'll see how that develops this summer. By a vote of 60 yes, 40 no. Again, the vote was that we should try and bring Kyogo back to the club this summer. It does look like he has fallen out of favour at Rennes and is struggling to get any game time with them. And Rennes are said to be lining up a €30 million plus bid for another striker this summer. As I've said to a few people in comments and replies and debates and discussions, I think Kyogo is actually unlikely to come back to Celtic and is much more likely to move to another mid-table European club, or probably more likely go back to Japan a wee bit earlier than initially planned in Kyogo's career plan. And it does appear that playing in the next World Cup is one of Kyogo's biggest ambitions. And with the way that the international manager of Japan thinks, it doesn't look like Kyogo playing for Celtic gets him into the top strikers in the Japanese squad. So we'll see how also the Kyogo story develops over the summer. That finishes things off for today. Just a wee polite encouragement suggestion. If you are new to the channel, not yet subscribed, please do click that subscriber button. Keep the numbers slowly moving through the 1200s. And do feel free to pop your own thoughts, comments regarding Balikwisha, Schlupp, Taylor, Schmeichel, etc., into the comment section for a nice wee chat debate amongst like-minded Celtic fans. And so, until the next video, goodbye and hail, hail.